Welcome back to TalkBack with the chief of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, Imran Khan. Okay, now, heated debate going on, back to fighting and talking. What's the American endgame? If the Americans are so evil, now, once again, to clarify, if the American policies are so evil, not Americans, right? That's what you say, Americans are fine. If American policies are so bad for Pakistan, what in the world are they doing? They've taken a lot, they've gotten more casualties this year, just so you know, than they ever have in Afghanistan. They're taking a beating there. It's not an easy time for them as well.
We have taken 5 times more casualties
Yes, it's
than
bad
them.
for us. I'm talking about the Americans right now because ultimately your finger is pointing to Washington, right? That's where it's pointing. You're saying that we have to get an NOC from the Americans. This government doesn't function without an NOC from the Americans.
This government.
My thing is this, the Americans...
It should be a sovereign government.
I just read you a Washington Post story where the Americans are giving us more weaponry. They've offered us a strategic partnership. They're giving us, yes, we can talk about the KLB, the Kerry Lugar bill in just a minute, but they're giving us money for enhancing whatever. Sure, it's stringed, sure, it's issues, we'll get to that in a second. They're still pumping more money in. You cannot discount the fact that the Americans are at least trying to deal with this situation. Yes? Or is it just completely evil stuff from them?
Listen to me. The Americans made a big blunder by invading Afghanistan and not differentiating between the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. The Americans have blundered in Afghanistan and we are the collateral damage in Pakistan. Tell me, why are we stuck in this war? Which Pakistani was involved in 9/11? Where was Al-Qaeda? In Afghanistan, trained by CIA. How did we get into the middle of this? Because a moronic dictator who had no depth of character or understanding to get American approval and dollars, he's got us stuck into something which could destroy Pakistan.
A moronic dictator you were initially with in the beginning.
And realized he was a moron, and that's why I left him. But the point is, Wajahat, we are going to sink if we do not change our strategy. We are unfortunately led by the most inept government, which actually doesn't even know what's going on. Our policy is what we are dictated to by the Americans. We should have a homegrown policy.
Okay.
Has it occurred to you that the Americans were consulting everyone for 2 months to form their policy before they decide the surge? Where was Pakistan?
We don't talk to anyone.
Where was Pakistan? And did Pakistan Parliament sit down and think? Yeah, but I mean, which government allows the army to make a policy? It's a civilian government. This is supposed to be democracy. In a military dictatorship, the army makes policies. In democracies, civilian government make policies.
Considering the country you live in, are you surprised that the army is making policy right now regarding the Taliban, etc., etc.?
We are destroying our army, which is why
the army is going up in ratings.
We might go up in ratings, but it's stuck. You know, 500. No, Wajahat, listen to me.
If the army didn't want to fight this.
No, Wajahat, listen. 550 of our soldiers were martyred in Swat, 1,500 injured. Hold on 1 second.
If the army...
Think about it. Look at the beating we are taking. That's more than the Americans in Afghanistan. The Americans basically only want us to do one thing, to keep fighting here so that they won't go across to fight there.
Okay.
So we are supposed to be destroying our country just to save a bad policy which the Americans, where they got stuck in Afghanistan.
This is a little convoluted. On the one hand, you're saying that the Americans want us to stop the flow of Taliban there, right? So that the impact on them is less, so that they stabilize Afghanistan.
And also,
meanwhile, you've also said that a surge there is going to destabilize Pakistan.
Yes.
Now they're coming in and saying that we want to stabilize Pakistan. We will lose Afghanistan if we lose Pakistan.
So they've really stabilized Pakistan. Pakistan looks a really stable place right now. Is this because is this stability? If that is stabilization, the surge is going to make matters much worse here. It depends what they're doing for surge. There are two theories. One, they will use a bit of muscle and occupy the cities and get the Taliban on the table and to have a government of consensus, which is, I hope, expecting from Obama, who's intelligent, that would be a sensible move. If they allow the generals to then try and eliminate Taliban as much as they can in the next year and a half, and if there's more bloodshed there, you will have people coming over here, then Americans pressurizing us to do more. What is happening right now could be multiplied by 100.
Okay.
We could be in a real mess right now. So therefore,
I
Pakistan
wrap
must
this part up.
have its own domestic policy. What is our policy? What will happen if the surge starts and we get more destabilized?
You've just said that Pakistan's, that's fine. You've said that Pakistan needs its own domestic policy.
Homemade policy.
Made by the parliament.
I would even go further. I would say that every stakeholder should be involved in this. You know, this should be this is the future of Pakistan.
The army should be involved in this as well, right?
No. Army should not be involved. The army should be, you know,
The army should be involved in, it's a stakeholder, no?
The people, the generals in the army who have inside knowledge should be consulted, but basically, all political forces should be mobilized here. We should have a discussion and come up with a homegrown policy to protect our interests. Americans are protecting their interests. We should protect our own interests.
Moving on, you want to mediate right now.
Yeah.
You've pitched yourself forward. You've come out a few days ago. You've pitched yourself forward. You've said that if the government gives you an ambit, gives you a mandate,
the government.
If the government gives you a mandate to, and if whatever your solution is, if it is approved and ratified by Parliament, then
and is within the 73 Constitution.
Okay, then you will go ahead and offer to mediate. Now, you've also said...
No, let me correct it. What I've said is that if the government gives me the mandate, I will go and meet as many groups as I can. The mediation will be within the 1973 Constitution and then put it in front of the Parliament to ratify.
You think these guys care about the 1973 Constitution?
Well, listen, at least we can try. At the most, I'll fail. You've got to understand this. You have only two choices. Either you fight or you start dialogue. If we keep on going, what is the guarantee that next year is not even more bloodier than this past year? Can Pakistan sustain this? In frontier, the economy has collapsed. There are hundreds of thousands of internally displaced people.
If they're all for this, if they're all for this military action, do more. Why is it, please explain to me, that a good component of the KLB, of the Kerry-Lugar bill, is meant to be injected into the tribal areas for development? If they're so evil about this entire war,
tell me.
Why are they pumping money?
Tell me, how much money has been pumped into Afghanistan for development, and why has that not happened? When there's a war zone, when there is a war zone, who is going to go and do development there? The country is losing far more than Kerry-Lugar bill we are getting from.
Okay,
and I'm giving you the government figures. I'm giving you the government figures. According to this current government, as you know, it's petrified of the Americans because it depends on the handouts. According to the government, the war has cost us $50 billion. And then we have 120,000 soldiers fighting someone else's war because we weren't fighting it before. And the cost to the Americans per one Pakistani soldier is 800, and one American soldier in Kabul, Afghanistan, cost them $1 million.
Okay, hold
on. So here we are.
I've got these stats, Imran. You've said them before. Here we are fighting someone else's war according to you, but hold on.